sunny downtown LA today visiting public relations firm Konnect PR. We're taking full advantage of the rare opportunity to sit down with owner Sabina Gault, busy entrepreneur and mom, to find out how she does it all, plus get some expert tips from the PR guru herself. Let's all take a few minutes to get inspired by this maven on the move. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so honored. I know your schedule is immensely hectic, so thank you so much.
I'm in town, that's a plus. Yes. And I'm in the office, so that's a second plus. Yes. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I cyber stalked you a little bit so I could find out more about you, and it's just really impressive. I was checking out your resume. Now, you grew up in Romania, is that correct?
I did.
Yes.
I did. I was born and raised for most of my life in Romania. So I moved here when I was 20 years old.
Oh, wow, wow. And you went to Berkeley, I saw.
I did. I finished Cal.
Now, you started Konnect PR, I think, right after you graduated. Is that correct?
I started it a little bit after. It was 2009. We officially started in 2009. Unofficially, I hired the first 2 employees in end of 2008.
And so now I was looking at your resume, and you kind of gone through the ranks through various firms. Did you always know, was this always your goal to own your own firm? Was that just like the target, or?
I wish that was. I wish that was. You know, I think I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I work with a lot of CEOs, and I hear their stories, and they're so enlightening and so phenomenal. And they all had sort of a light bulb moment, and I fall more in the accidental entrepreneur situation. You know, coming from Romania, you're not used to entrepreneurship. It's not something that exists. Romania was communist for most of my life there. So I grew up in a very different environment and in a very different socio-economical status. So because of that, when you move to the States and you get an opportunity, you don't think, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to start a business. So for me, it was more from my failure of being a good employee and being a goody two-shoes and a teacher's pet. And I think you find out really fast that even a teacher hates the teacher's pet. So that kind of drive is what threw me into the company, and kind of woke up with 2 clients and on the street, and the clients were like, well, we're going where you're going. And I was like, well, I'm not really sure I know where I'm going. They're like, you'll be fine. So I went home and cried for an entire day and thought my life is over and I'm never going to do anything in my life.
Right.
And then I woke up and I realized that I potentially had a business. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, no, I think that's a great story, because you want to hear those types of stories no matter where you are in your career, and even if it's a second or third career for a lot of entrepreneurs. You know, there are times when we accidentally fall into it, and we just kind of count our blessings along the way, and you know, you kind of build a great team. It seems like you have a really close-knit team here.
We do.
And you've got 3 offices.
Yes.
And so do you have any leadership or management tips that you can share with women who own businesses now? Maybe they're thinking about hiring on more people or opening other locations.
Yeah, so we have offices in, obviously, LA. This is our flagship. It's the largest office. We have about a little over 40 people here. We have a great office in Texas that is growing really, really fast. It was our 2nd office opened. And Texas is just such a great market. It's close to a lot of our clients. We have clients in Dallas, clients in Austin. We have clients kind of in San Antonio and kind of nearby in smaller cities in Texas. So it was kind of a good fit for us right off the bat. And then we have about 9 people there and growing. We're just about to go into construction on our space and kind of just blow it up. We're pretty stacked at the moment.
Yeah.
And then we have an office in New York. And New York came not as something that we really wanted to do. I knew it was important to have an office there, and I knew that a lot of companies kind of look towards that and say, oh, you don't have an office in New York. But one of my top managers, who's been with the company forever, and she's just a phenomenal human being, decided to move back home, which was Connecticut. So I said, well, I guess we got to open up an office. So you don't lose talent. So you open an office. And we do.
And you are a mom of 2.
I do. I have 2 kids, both under the age of 6 at the moment.
Wow. That's incredible. So I know for a lot of women, you know, we always say, how does she do it all? And I truly believe that's because women want it all, whereas I think men don't necessarily think of themselves that way. So for you and managing work and home, I mean, do you have any, I don't know, tools that you use, or how do you do it?
So my life is a calendar. Yeah. I live in Cozy. So if you don't have Cozy,
no, I don't have Cozy.
You need to get Cozy. It's amazing.
Is it an app?
It's an app, okay. And it lives, you can add as many people with other phones. So like if you have a caretaker, if you have a grandma, if you have a father, you know, whoever is in your circle of people that help with your children, you add them all by their phone number into Cozy. So then everybody sees the same exact calendar at all points in time, and you give them rights. So these people can add, these people can delete, these people can do this. So much kind of like an Outlook calendar, but for managing your family.
Right.
And it's truly amazing. It keeps us all straight. Like I'll plan something for the kids, and I'll be like, oh, let me just put it in Cozy before like anybody else says, oh, let's do this Saturday afternoon.
Right.
So this way it's all kind of kept tight and together, and it's really fun.
I'm going to check it out. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a great one. And then I think another thing is, I use help from my nanny when I'm not there, and then when I'm there, I use her not for the children. So for me, when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. I don't do the dishes. I can do that any other time.
Right.
But when the kids are home and I'm spending time with them, it's pure one-on-one time with them. Like that's all I do. I take them out to the park. I book experiences for them. Like we're going to the rain room tomorrow. So I'm just taking them, you know, as part of like a mommy and me time. Right. I take my daughter to events that are more girl / you know, kind of older child focused.
How fun.
I take my son to Sky Zone a lot. He loves to jump, loves the trampolines. And so, but those times I'm full on with the kids. My mind is nowhere else. I'm not trying to pick up groceries at Whole Foods and go to Target and do this and do that. I'm literally just with them.
And you have to make the most out of every moment on that calendar. Yeah. What about time for yourself? What do you do for yourself?
I work out, which sometimes is hard because you battle, I think, as a female, no matter what anybody says, you always battle with, but do I really need to do this right now? Because I would rather make breakfast for my kids instead of running and going for a run on the beach, you know? So I work out anywhere between 5 and 6 times a week.
Wow. How do you do that? How do you fit that in? That's amazing.
It depends. There's good days and there's bad days, you know. I think sometimes you just got to get yourself there, and you just got to, you know, Soul Cycle is one of my addictions.
Yes, I spin as well. Love it. Love it.
Soul Cycle is amazing. You just go in there and you forget about everything, and the light goes off and the music is blasting, and you forget everything. You just remember that you got to climb that hill, and that's all you know at that time.
Right.
So it's a great, like, I love that kind of workout. I do a lot of Pilates, and I do a lot of bar, and I run a lot.
Wow.
So those are fun ways to
And how does it work with your traveling? And you travel a ton. You're still able to fit it in?
Yeah, so I've made a rule that I don't go anywhere without workout clothes. So like right now, I have a set of workout clothes in my car, and I have 3 sets of workout clothes in my office.
Ooh, I love that.
So at any point in time, there's no excuse.
Right.
Like you can't say, oh, you know, I don't have my shoes, or I don't have my t-shirt, or I forgot my workout gear. No, there's none of that. And then I do class pass, which is easy because if you just happen to get out early one night and everybody's happy, you can say, you know what, it's 6, I'm going to go, and okay, there's a bar class here.
Find a class somewhere.
So it's really within your proximity. Or sometimes I'll finish a meeting on the west side. I don't live on the west side, so for me it's hard to, I know this studio versus that studio. So this way, just class passes. Again, it doesn't let you make any excuses. It
Right.
just doesn't allow you to do that.
Well, I think with your schedule, you have so few openings that you just have to,
Right.
you have to work with what
Right.
you can find right there and then.
Yeah.
That's great. So for a lot of women, I think, and probably a lot of small businesses, I work with a lot of clients that are small businesses, the idea of retaining a PR firm, I think, is a little intimidating. And maybe you can help demystify it a little bit in terms of what that relationship is like or what they can expect.
You know, I think PR has got a bad rap, and rightfully so. I think people in this industry have not done a great job at building relationships, and they build hourly billings, really. So when you're in an industry that focuses so hard on how do you get to the bottom line, it's easy to forget that really you're not in it for the money, and that you're in it, and of course, you know, you have to make some money in order to continue running the business.
Right.
But when that is the goal, then it becomes a very sort of frivolous relationship where the client feels like they're cheated, and you feel like you're not being paid enough for what you should be getting paid. So it just gets really ugly very fast. So I think that's one of the first things that somebody should be looking into is, you know, am I picking someone that has my best interest at heart at the end of the day? You know, if the results are not there and the retainer is used up, what are they going to do? Are they going to say, sorry, we can't help you anymore? Or are they going to find a way to really get results at the end of the day?
So a small business, maybe thinking about, as we said, retaining a PR firm, is there a minimum amount of time or like a recommended amount of time that you think that they could do that? Is it like a 3 month, 6 month, a year? What would you recommend?
So I think it depends on the kind of business and the goals ultimately. And again, you should be not going with the norm. You should be going against the norm. And ultimately, you as the client, you as the brand, have certain needs. The goal is for whoever comes in those shoes of a publicist or of a marketer or of a brand specialist to fill those needs rather than just offer you a pretty packaged service. So if you're in major startup mode and you don't have a ton of cash, and you know, don't go for an agency. That's a waste of time, money, everything. It's not worth it. Go for somebody that will work hands-on with you, a freelancer, somebody that has a super small company with several people, very, very, very little, nimble, fast on their feet. That's really what you want. As your brand grows, you know, and you're in the $1 to $5, $1 to $4 million, you know, you can go to a small boutique firm where, again, you're getting a lot of attention, a lot of hands-on people. You're getting the CEO of the company to be really involved. You're not paying $20,000 a month, and it's just not draining you. Because PR takes time. So in terms of time, you know, really the minimum that one should be engaged is at least a year plus. I mean, you really need a lot of time to make things work. It's just like marketing. You have to come up with a marketing campaign. You have to layer it. You have to think about it. PR plays into that. Social plays into that. They all sort of play this 360 approach, if you want.
You have to give it time to really see the results.
Yeah.
So speaking of social media, I imagine that it has changed the PR game in good ways and bad ways.
I think it changed all games. I think it changed everything.
So for women, I've spoken to a lot of women entrepreneurs, and they're a little bit intimidated with social media and probably putting themselves in front of the camera or putting themselves out there. I know that we had a big social media week last week in LA. Yeah. Do you have any tips for women that are looking to grow and engage their audience, or something that you learned last week?
You know, I think it works really well if you know your platform. So I think that's the biggest challenge. A lot of people think, oh, I got to be everywhere. You know, I always give mad props to Whole Foods. They do an amazing job at their social channels. Specifically their Pinterest. They figured we are targeting women, and we're targeting women of a more affluent, to some extent, background. So because of that, they've actually started doing fantastic kitchen, beautiful redesigns of kitchens. And that's what they pin. So they have hundreds and hundreds of boards of beautiful kitchens and beautiful food and food for your children. So again, it's very aspirational. Yes. But you just sit there like flipping through pins of beautiful kitchens, and then, you know, it kind of reminds you, go, oh man, that was in the Whole Foods. That's pretty cool. They have it together. So it's just very interesting on how the audience is really more dictating than what you personally like.
Right.
I tend to like Instagram a lot just because it's a photo, it's fast, it's easy. I don't have to sit there and write a bunch of copy. I can put a bunch of emoji and it's done.
Right.
And I keep it private so that not every, you know, crazy person can look into my Instagram.
Right.
Which I also recommend sometimes is good to have your profiles to some extent private.
Yeah,
unless
so
you're
you
trying
separate.
To be a public person.
Right, you separate, because I think a lot of women struggle with that. Like, how much of their personal should they put on their business?
Yeah, none.
The separation.
None.
I put very few pictures of my daughter on mine. Very few.
Yeah, they need to stay on the Konnect Instagram. We have all the, you know, Insta, Pinterest, Facebook, everything, Snapchat. We keep it very professional, business focused. We talk about tips and great stuff to look at and cool client events. And, you know, again, we're letting people peek into our world and into our clients' lives.
Yes.
Like, hey, we just shot at TMBC this morning, or hey, we just did a Today Show segment, or we just had an event for Teletubbies launch last week. So things like that.
Right.
While my personal is really my kids.
We can't help it as moms. We can't help it.
Boring. It's just lots of pictures of my children.
And well, I mean, but I do believe that, you know, with Instagram, like you said, I mean, you're giving people want to peek into your life a little bit and peek into your clients' lives, but they also, it sounds like you're providing a lot of value for them by giving them tips as well. So you know your audience, you know what they're looking for, and I feel like there needs to be a balance of both.
Very important.
And probably some pretty pictures along the way, right? Just some eye candy. So I have two more fun questions for you. First of all would be, is there something, a hobby or something about you that people may be surprised to learn about you?
So I don't do this very often. So it doesn't qualify as a hobby, but I'm completely obsessed with it. I'm actually obsessed with climbing. I love climbing mountains.
Wow.
And I don't do it. For my 30th, I climbed Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
And it was an amazing experience. It was phenomenal. And I wanna do Base Camp Everest next. So my goal is by the time I'm 40, I should hit Base Camp Everest.
So that might be answer my next question, which is what is on the bucket list? And it sounds like that is
definitely on the bucket list. And it's very unexpected because people know I ski a lot and I love skiing. I'm a runner. People know I run. So those go natural. But the climbing thing is definitely kind of off of left field. And I don't train for it until I get to the point where I booked the trip. And then I train heavy for it. So for Kilimanjaro, I trained for 9 months before I climbed.
Wow. And what is it about it? Is it just that there's literally a physical big goal?
I think so. I think it takes it from perspective and it puts it in reality. Right. Because a lot of the work that I do is very perspective focused. You got to get to $10 million. You got to get to X amount of clients. You got to get to this profitability rate. You got to do this. So it's very conceptualized versus this where you're sitting there and you're looking at the top of the mountain and you're like, wow, I somehow have got to get my butt up there.
Wow, that is amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, thank you so much. I think that wraps up our questions. Thank you for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming in and learning more about us. So thanks. You guys do a phenomenal job at really promoting entrepreneurship and women, and I think that goes such a long way.
You are an inspiration, so thank you.
Thank you.